Hi, Emily. Thank you so much for reaching out to us. My name is Cameron, and this is my wife, Vanessa.
Hi, Emily.
We always like to do these relationship or potential love readings together to give us that extra little energy boost. And we also really appreciate your patience during this holiday season. So we're really excited to do this reading, and how we like to go forward with these is Vanessa's going to shuffle the deck, and then we're just going to draw 3 cards, and we're going to let the message flow. So this question is in regards to Reynolds and his feelings about you. It says here, you wrote us, he's your leader at the workplace. He's in his mid to late 40s. So with that said, we'll begin. Great question, by the way.
Is that the Six of Wands?
Yeah, it's the 6 of Wands. It's a little bit of a dark card. It's a victory card, and it's a leadership card. And so I can't help but notice that because you mentioned that Reynolds is your leader in the workplace, or one of them, that this serves as a representation of that archetype. One of the wonderful things about having that draws us to love is that we find a guide in somebody that we resonate with, and somebody that we can look to for support and for care. And there is a advantage to that, and then there's also some cautionary kind of flags to look for in that regard. Do you want to speak any more of that in particular, sweetheart?
Yeah. When it comes to love, we want to respect our partner. So, or even when it comes to potential relationship, doesn't even have anything to do with love necessarily.
Yes.
But to find admiration in someone that's our leader in the workplace is, I believe, easy to do if we have a good one. And considering that a lot of times our leaders are the opposite sex, I think it's easier for us to slip into that notion that there is a potentiality there for a type of bond, and that may very well be, but given that he is your leader, I would caution that you just have discernment when it comes to making sure you're reading the correct signals, and maybe if you're misinterpreting something, just make sure you're very clear on it before you decide to make any moves.
I think that's wonderfully said. This card in the typical Rider-Waite deck does not come across as formidably, and even a little bit of a negative tone. If you notice, the one in charge and that is leading is adored in white, and he's kind of the captain or master of his domain, while all the other characters are a self-similar color and kind of represent the whims of his desire, so to speak. It might be a righteous desire or a goodly desire, but they lack autonomy. And so when you enter a relationship, especially I would imagine as a female, and maybe my wife can speak to that, I do believe that there's an additional vulnerability already there. So to add on top of that, the fact that this potential individual would also be a boss figure, you know, there isn't a lot of room for reprieve away from that will, and it can be an imbalanced type of relationship. So just keep that in mind. But to answer your question in specificity as to his feelings about you, we'll draw further cards. But I would advise that this first card is a little more of a cautionary card, and a card to give pause. Because like my wife says, it's very natural to have a crush on those over you. And you know, when you think of like when you're a kid, whether it's a teacher or when you get older, a boss or somebody that just, maybe it's like a ecclesiastical or even political figure. Like we like that feeling of comfort, and it can be swept up in sensations of, you know, attraction and all of that, which can be misleading at times.
And to piggyback on that too, you want to protect yourself because you don't want to be taken advantage of if you are expressing different types of approaches, or help me out here, when it comes to directing your attention towards your leader in a way that may not be appropriate for the workplace, because that could lead to an opportunity for them to create more for you to do.
Yeah, it's a power
Or to
imbalance.
even, yeah, thank you. It's a power imbalance. And you wouldn't ever want there to be any negative energy, any burned bridges, because ultimately, if this is your journey and career, then you wouldn't want that to shine poorly on you.
Yeah.
I think that's all I wanted to say.
Beautifully said.
Okay, let's move on.
This is regarding Reynolds feelings.
The fertility card.
So to me, what this says is, this is a beautiful card. When I think of fertility, I think of a respectable allure. And so it is a type of attraction based upon not only a natural affinity, but also one of respect. This is not the lust card. This is not the lover's card. This is more in line with Reynolds, according to this reading, sees you as somebody full of potentiality and someone that is capable of creating a healthy and wholesome environment. And to me, that speaks of a type of attraction, but not one fixated on desire and lust. And so if that is the case, and according to this reading it is, that would be something that would be best approached maybe outside of the workplace, or developed through a slow gestation. When I think of fertility, I think of harvest, I think of growth in nature, and those processes, although they are very powerful in their operation, are slow gestations and come about naturally. They're not forced. Do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, I kind of what you said in short. I see a mutual respect. And within that mutual respect, you want to make sure to maintain boundaries so that you're both representing yourself correctly and continuing that line of respect within that workplace. And like my husband said, maybe exploring it more outside and remaining professional in the meantime.
I get a sense from this reading, and one of the things my wife and I like to say is that these readings represent a moment in time, and they can always change, according to the unfolding of life. But I gather that Reynolds is a respectable man, and that these things would be done best in accordance with that kind of respectability and those boundaries. In other words, make sure that your own desire for him, because I imagine there is a desire, because you're reaching out, is not exerted too forcefully, because even a good man can be broken and succumb to maybe things that he wouldn't normally do with the guiding and convincing impetus of the feminine impulse.
And also consider, if there were something to blossom between you and that mutual respect is taken to the next level, then what would you be willing to sacrifice? Would either of you be willing to sacrifice a part, if not all, of your career within that workplace in order to move into a different type of gestation, which is in the realm of relationships, to remain individualistic? Is that a word?
Yeah, it is now.
And, to have, at the very least, more to share with each other as you combine strengths and interests in different ways, and also to retain that self-respect.
Yeah.
So something to consider.
So we'll just press on just a little further and just draw another card to see if we can elaborate upon what we've seen so far.
The Page of Swords.
Okay. The Page of Swords here is represented in the iconography of David and Goliath. So this is a young kind of magi of sorts, a young figure that is well-heeled in virtue and strength and courage, and is able to conquer or overcome seemingly impossible odds for the sake of virtue. And so one of the things we know from the story of David in the Bible is, despite his great virtue and his ability to just, personify himself as the most faithful person in the land with regards to his alignment with spirit, he undergoes a great fall in the end of his life through lust and through his ability to not properly balance the blessings of his life with his consuming desire. And so to me, what this message is saying is, just make sure that everything is done in accordance and in harmony with all things in your life. I do not believe, even though change can be disruptive, that love damages situations. Even though it might call to transform or to change our circumstances, it does not cause problems. It does not break hearts. It does not, disrupt in a negative effect. And so having a workplace kind of romance is a disruptive quality. It can call into question the reputation of both the leader and also the person, such as yourself, that adores, this older, more mature and guiding person. It can call both characters into question. So I want to be clear, this is not to deter you away from anything you feel and, this call of your heart, but just to keep these things in mind. It's not necessarily what we do, but as my wife always tells me, which I love, it's about the intention of the action. Make sure that both intentions are guided wisely.